name is Dietrich Heidtmann. I work with AXA Real Estate as their Global Head of Investor Relations and Capital Markets. So in my responsibility is basically the entire capital formation process. We are a real estate manager that runs 45 billion euros as of the end of last year of property values. We are essentially focused on Europe, but we have our activities in the US and in Asia as well, where we capitalized our first vehicles at the end of last year, and we're inviting other investors alongside with us. AXA Real Estate 45 billion are basically split about half-half between what our insurance balance sheets requirements are in the investment in the property investment area, as well as 140 institutional relationships which work with us either in a traditional fund format or through club deals and joint ventures. My specific personal interests are obviously meeting as many investors as possible and exchange ideas, get updated on their investing priorities, tell them a bit about what we think is a good idea at this point in time. This year specifically, we were very involved with MIPIM in working on this Reinvest Summit on Tuesday morning, which we believe was a fantastic idea for MIPIM to create a specific forum for institutional investors, and the feedback that we actually got from the people who attended was very, very, very positive. Not only was there an update on ideas, but also it was a forum to bring them together, and a lot of them, even sometimes when they were from the same region, met themselves for the first time. So it was met each other for the first time. So it was a very, very successful event in my view. Real estate, more than any other business that I've been involved with in the past, is really a people's business, and nothing beats the personal contact from institution to institution, from person to person, and to have an understanding what drives the individual institution and how you can potentially work together is really something you can only find out by actually sitting together and talk, and there's very few opportunities for people from around the globe to actually meet for such purposes. I mean, there are some conferences, but I think it was definitely something that was missing at MIPIM, and we're very glad that they created this forum and we were able to work with them on that one. Definitely over the last few years, the type of investors which have become active actually have changed. I mean, you have to differentiate a little bit between the investors which are subject to a pretty heavy load of regulation, and for example here in Europe for the insurance companies, but to some extent also for larger pension funds, the topic of Solvency II and new capital adequacy rules actually has been dominating the investment debate. So to a large extent, this was also determining in what format investors would be willing to invest in property going forward. And then you have all these relatively new capital sources which continue to invest or start to invest in real estate globally, who are free of almost any kind of regulation and can really just look at the property and can decide more freely on the format. And there, as this re-summit on Tuesday showed, there is a variety of approaches from some institutions setting up large in-house teams to try to control a lot of the value creation themselves in-house, versus others relying on a more efficient setup in-house and then delegating and outsourcing these decisions. So you have the full spectrum. And I think what was interesting in that summit was also to see how people would exchange ideas over, we try to do everything direct, you try to outsource everything. What's your thought process, and what can we learn from each other in what we do, specifically also institutions which are at different stages in their investment process. When you look at the older capital sources, the real estate private equity fund model was actually very well established and then was quite challenged over the emerging global financial crisis. I think we have gone a bit through a J-curve here, where there was a lot of criticism on the model, a lot of soul searching of what can we do better. In the end, I think it was not the model that was criticized, it was basically the way it was implemented. And so people have come back to fund investing as a necessity actually to outsource. That's one element. But then on the other hand, larger investors tend to look also a lot more on who they invest with. So the whole topic of being like-minded is actually something that gets a lot of attention in capitalizing a vehicle today. And for many of the investors, a club of two, meaning the sponsor and themselves, seems to be the main preference that they have. I think a lot of the big new capital pools chasing property today look at joint ventures alongside long-term oriented partners. And we're very fortunate at AXA that obviously within our real estate platform, we have a mandate to also manage the capital for our AXA insurance balance sheets, and this is a very sought after partner for many international investors. And if you look, for example, at one transaction we closed this week in London. It was a very large office building that we closed with two partners out of Asia, as you just suggested, who co-invested with us in the club structure on the outset. The biggest value proposition is actually that within 4 days I am able to meet people from pretty much every corner of the world, which would otherwise take me 3-4 months on the planes. I think here people can meet very efficiently and discuss, and they're actually here for a purpose, and then they're here to exchange ideas. I think MIPIM has often been criticized for its location and for some of the side aspects. I think it has also become more mature in that aspect, and people often said, MIPIM is more a social event, and Expo Real is a work related event in Munich in fall. I never understood that differentiation. I think this is a fantastic platform, and if you pre-plan a little bit what you want to do here, it's a great way to kick off the year. It is definitely the more senior people. I think one thing that came along with the global financial crisis is that everyone looks at their cost base. So I think every institution, whether it's on the investment management side, whether it's on the investor side or developer side, are basically looking at who are we sending to MIPIM. So people who come here are here much more with a purpose and with an ambition, and it tends to be the more senior people that you're meeting today versus during the bubble when you had much larger crowds. The response to that event that we had on Tuesday morning there was fantastic, and people actually came. There were people who came for the first time to MIPIM specifically to be there when they saw the kind of people that they would be able to meet and actually get introduced to each other. And yeah, I think everyone comes here with a very open mindset, and I think that's what differentiates MIPIM from a lot of other events in the property space.